Hey, this is Chad with BeGoneForGood. Today we're going to run through the top 5 books you must be reading if you're an adventure motorcyclist. Stay tuned. This is my top 5 list for books that any adventure motorcyclist, or really motorcyclists broadly, should be reading, especially now that we've got these cold winter months coming in. We have a little bit of extra time to sit back and do some reading, maybe even some maintenance on the bike if you're going to get around to it. But if you need to spend those days indoors, this is some books that you can get to. Plus, I have a 6th book that hopefully you'll enjoy as well. So the first book is really basic. It's the Adventure Motorcycling Handbook by Chris Scott. By Chris Scott. The Adventure Motorcycling Handbook by Chris Scott. This is a really beautifully detailed run through of everything that you're going to need to get your trip planned, to get started, to the tools on your bike, to what kind of bike to pick, to where you want to go. Everything you need is in here. This, I would say, is the #1 premier starting spot if you're looking at adventure motorcycling. Even if you don't have a bike yet, even if you're not really sure if this is something that's for you, this is a great place to start. There are a few stories in here of other people's travels as well, so it's not just purely a technical guide. There are a lot of tips and tricks and things that people went through and mishaps you can avoid or target if that's your thing. But I would say this is a great starting spot for anybody who's considering adventure motorcycling and getting into this realm. Great start. The second book is one that everybody's heard of. I read this before I even had a motorcycle, about a decade before I had a motorcycle. This is Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert Pirsig. This book is spectacular for so many different reasons. One, because it's unlikely that this book is what you think it is. If it's not something that you've read before, you have no idea what you're in for. The first experience of this book is completely unique, and I'm sure a lot of readers wish they could go back and read it again for the first time. It takes on a life of its own. It starts out exactly as you'd expect, with kind of a journal of this guy's travels as he's going across the country with his son, and it very quickly devolves or evolves from there into something really pretty spectacular. There are some, I would even call it, some sinister elements in there that are compelling and insightful and will really make you think a lot. This is not an easy read. It's not something that you can just, kind of breeze through or skim through. You got to pay attention, and it's some heavy material that you're going to be going through. But if that's your thing, and over the course of the winter, if you got a few months to spare, this is a great way to spend it. And I think it will change the way you look at your rides on the road when you get through this book. Robert Pirsig, Zen and Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Wow. Robert Pirsig, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Great read. For the third book in our top 5 series, this may throw some people off. I am unabashedly a big Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman fan. If it wasn't for The Long Way Round, I don't know that I would be on an adventure bike today. I don't know that I'd even know what it was. This series really brought me into this universe and made me love it in a way that I don't think I would have otherwise without these two personalities behind it. This book is their compendium to the series that you all know of. It's really pretty spectacular. It gets into a lot of things that the series didn't, and if you want a deeper dive into what they were going through, how they were feeling, the trials and tribulations that they ran through, this is a great read for it. This is a pretty quick, breezy read. This is not difficult to get through. So if you're looking for some lighter fare, this is a great read for you. So I would suggest Long Way Round for anybody that's, I caught him. Anybody that's interested in adventure motorcycling, this is two of the icons in the region really spilling all about their round the world trip. For our 4th book, this is the godfather of adventure motorcycling. There is no book in this series that is a must the way that this book is. If you are an adventure motorcyclist, if you are thinking about it, the other books are suggestions, may even be proper. This is a must. You have to have read this book if you ever plan on joining a campfire with other motorcyclists, if you ever plan on going to the Starbucks and talking to the guys that are out there on BMWs and KTMs or Africa Twins. You have to have read this book. Please do not take this lightly. If you haven't read it, find it tonight. I will include a link below and read it. It's Ted Simon's Round the World journal, Jupiter's Travels. In 1974, I think it was, Ted Simon set out and traveled to 45 different countries around the world over 4 years. This is everything you need to know about what adventure motorcycling is all about. He gets into the travel itself, the people that he meets, the culture that he is inspired by, the benefits of traveling around the world by a motorcycle, some of the downsides of it, things you need to be prepared for. He also goes into a lot of the growth that he went through, the things that he ran across in a totally humble and honest way. I don't know that you will find a better version of this type of story. There's thousands of them out there. This may be the best that's out there for this type of story, around the world journey. This is the guy that inspired Ewan and Charlie for the long way round. He inspires a ton of people. I am one of them. I just recently met him at Overland Expo, and he is exactly this guy. Humble, totally confident in what he's done, and willing to talk to anybody, even a mope like me. He's just a great, great guy, and if you can find a way to support him, I would suggest that you do it, and this book will make you want to get on your bike and disappear for 4 years. It's fantastic. Definitely check it out. All right, for our 5th book, this is one I just finished yesterday. Also, somebody that we met at Overland Expo East 2018, Elspeth Beard, Lone Rider. She was the first woman from the UK to travel around the world on a motorcycle, not too much after Ted Simon did. 1982, she left, traveled around the world. Other than Ted Simon, this is another one that the honesty and humility with which she tells her story is spectacular. It's riveting. It has maybe a little bit less than Ted Simon's did to do with the actual travel, and more about her experience of that travel, which some may like, some may not. I would suggest that it's a solid read, if for no other reason, just to recognize how important it is to capitalize on every relationship you've got. It may be small, it may be something that you think is just sort of tertiary or even just a passerby. Pay attention to those relationships, because they can be very valuable to you over the long term. And I think the gravity with which she writes her story, and the story behind this book also, and the fact that it took her forever to get it published and nobody was really interested, is also a great highlight of just how important it is to open your arms and in your minds to every story that's out there. Elspeth Beard, Lone Rider. Phenomenal book. Check it out. And if you're lucky enough to be like me, you might even get a signed copy. Okay, for my last book, and I know I've already gone through 5, this 6th one, maybe a little bit of a stretch to call it a book, but it is definitely something that every motorcyclist should have, every adventure motorcyclist must have available, must have read or gone through. But it is your own personal journal. I know it's a little bit tricky, but you have to have one of these. As simple as keeping maintenance on your bike in here. It's also a great place to put everything that you experience on that bike, the feelings that you had on your first ride, on your 400th ride, on your first crossing a border. This is a place where you want to store all that detail, because I promise you, and I know this from experience, that if you don't write it down, it'll fade and disappear faster than you can imagine. You cannot wait until the end of your trip to write down the things that you want to remember. It's vitally important to have this stuff available to you if you have any hopes of remembering your journey, or not having it just turn into a muddy mess of all one day over the course of 3 weeks. So for anybody who's out there adventure motorcycling, because you do want to remember those rides, otherwise kind of what's the point? So get one of these. I will keep a link down below for this exact one. This is just a moleskin. No big deal. It's like 20 bucks. Strap a pencil to it or a pen. Write whatever comes to your mind, or your thoughts, or any dates that you want to remember, anything along those lines can all stay in here. And this will be a great place to revisit for future travels, or just to remind you or your grandkids that one day you were cool. Get one. All right, those are my top 5 books that every motorcyclist should have, plus the 6th that was in there. If you need the links, everything is down below. We appreciate you watching. If you have other books that you think I should read, because obviously I've not gone very deep into this environment over the last couple of years, please leave them in the comments, leave them in suggestions. Let me know what you think I should be checking out next. And if you have any reviews for these books also, if you thought they were crap, if you thought they were great, also please let me know. I'd like to hear what everybody else is thinking out there. Thanks again for watching. As always, please subscribe if you want future videos like this. Oh, I've got nothing. This is Chad with BeGoneForGood. Thanks a lot.